Welcome back to the KR Daily Transmission. It's wonderful to be here with you. Feel free to share in the comment feed where you're watching live. We love to know where our angels are showing up all over the world. And if you're a Sophia Circle leader, feel free to share that you're a Sophia Circle leader. We've got Sophia here sitting on the couch with me, so she might pop in. And it's as though she always knows when I'm about to make a video. It's so funny. Of course she does, right? So this week with our theme, our March theme for creativity and communication, we're mentoring with Green Tara. And I was guided by Green Tara to read from a passage in the Sophia Code that really highlights for us what's happening when we step into the innocence of our higher self that is so fascinated and thrilled to create here on the earth plane through your willing human life, through your very heroic human embodiment. And today I will be reading from page 141 of the Sophia Code. Excuse me. So feel free to open up your copy of the Sophia Code to page 141. And we're going to be reading from paragraph 2. And these are the words of Green Tara sharing with us about, the title of this section is called Your Innocence is the Guide and the Guardian. Now, the divine virtue of innocence is, I think people associate the word innocence with a state of consciousness that's infantile and is not aware of its options, but that is not how Green Tara is sharing about the divine virtue of innocence in these teachings from the Sophia Code. The divine virtue of innocence that exists within you, it's not something you can earn or get from a power outside of you, because it's a part of the fabric of your soul. The divine virtue of innocence is absolutely aware of all of its options, but it's always going to choose the highest, most creative option that's been curated by your higher self. So when you're tapping into the innocence of your soul, you're tapping into that space that everything you say, anything that you do, any way that you interact with others, it seems fresh, new. It invites others into their own innocence. It's creative, it's playful, it's spontaneous. It's a state of listening, and it's a perfect state of trust, where you're trusting that what's coming through you is exactly what needs to happen in the moment. And people who learn how to embody this divine virtue of innocence over time even start to radiate with a white, like a bright source white light of creation in increasing measure, because this divine virtue of innocence is incredibly powerful and incredibly pure. Because why is it so pure? It's because innocence is the choice of no choice. When you choose your innocence, you're choosing to let go of all of the options that the ego structure would control you by or have you placate to. And you're choosing that divine consciousness within you that's like, I got this. I know exactly what this person needs to say or hear. I know exactly how the situation could become brighter and better and more fluid and more prosperous, more fun, more creative. And we often shortchange ourselves. We often limit our experience of life to be something less than joyful, because we're holding out on allowing ourselves to really dial into this innocence within us and receive the blessings of this part of our consciousness. But this innocence is always going to ask for you to be willing to step into the unexpected, the unknown, as we talked about with the dakinis yesterday, like that vulnerability leads to a surrender into a power that is much greater than the ego structure and much more expansive than your localized human awareness, which is really focused on the day-to-day survival or journey of being human. And when we tap into our higher selves awareness, we're tapping into a consciousness that's extremely expansive and ready to guide you into that expansion. So your innocence, I'd love for us to read a little bit more of this divine virtue of innocence that understands and knows in its purity that anything the ego structure is going to ask you to do will not result in the highest potential that your divinity would ask for you to surrender into and to create and to play and to express and to communicate. So your innocence knows the bar. The bar is really high and the bar is available for each of us to rise up and meet again and again throughout every present moment. But the ego structure is always attempting to keep us distracted from even exploring what it's like to reach for that bar, to open our wings and to fly into an expanded sovereign vista. So that's why this section is called Your Innocence is Both the Guide and Guardian, because your innocence also knows how to identify when your ego structure is attempting to overlay and surpass the pure motivations of your innocence. So the innocence knows how to call the ego structure out on that as well, in creative and funny and playful ways. So on page 141 of the Sophia Code, let's read these revelations of green tar together. And we're going to start with paragraph 2. Green Tara is sharing, claiming your sovereignty reinstates your innocence as a gift and guide for creating a new paradigm in this world. Your innocence is paramount for creating a new paradigm in this world. Well, that's interesting. And that first statement, claiming your sovereignty reinstates your innocence as a gift and a guide. What would be usurping previously? That would be the ego structure. That would be trauma. That would be codependency. So when we step into a sovereign perspective, we reinstate this divine virtue that already exists within you, the purity of your innocence, to become both the gift as well as the guide for your human awareness to create a new paradigm in this world. Green Tara goes on to share that embodying your innocence guides others who are grappling to free themselves from their grip upon samsara. So samsara is a Tibetan Buddhist term that I'm not going to go extensively into, but it has to do with illusion, hellish realms, being trapped in suffering, and not even knowing that you're trapped in the suffering because it's so normal. It's an addiction to suffering. So what the sentence is saying, that when you choose this divine virtue of your higher self and you allow yourself to be courageous and explore the spontaneous wisdom, the radical creativity, the crystal clear communication of your higher self, the embodiment of your innocence, just being one with your innocence, quite literally begins to guide others through your living example that are attempting to free themselves from being enslaved by their ego and their fears and their anxieties. It's very powerful. They didn't say doing something or creating something in this sentence. Green Tara is sharing that it's embodying your innocence, being willing to be it, being willing to be the consciousness that is aware of the highest potential and chooses it as that divine power flows through your human experience to reach higher, to be and embody this consciousness that's creating through you, even in the day-to-day existence within your body. This becomes a guidance system for others. They're watching, they can feel the resonance of your innocence, choosing different thoughts, choosing different behaviors, choosing solutions that they are grappling to reach for themselves, but they're still caught in this, in their own grip, in their own fears, in their own controlling coping strategies upon the illusion of the matrix. The next sentence Green Tar goes on to share, it is your divine right to invoke your sovereign power and create heavenly realities on earth that are a sanctuary for innocence to flourish. This is a really powerful and interesting statement. What Green Tara is pointing to is spiritual leadership. She's pointing to fulfilling our divine purpose. And our spiritual leadership and our divine purpose really involves what we're here to create and to serve in that creation. So, a heavenly reality can be more conscious school systems. A heavenly reality can be more, it could be a conscious cleaning team coming into your home and using products that are good for the environment and knowing how to treat sacred space. It's like a heavenly reality can be people awakening and choosing to create social media spaces where defamation and attacks aren't allowed, but a really powerful, healthy dialogue with critical thinking is allowed. Your heavenly realities are, it's not just this floating around in ascended master robes, everyone doing ceremony all the time. It's just like a heavenly reality is where anything can be improved to serve the divine love, the beauty, the talents and gifts of others, including the needs and the wounding of others, the trauma that needs to be healed in humanity. It's like heavenly realities are where we can bring solutions of grace forward through our innocence, identifying, oh, this is where I can make a difference. Oh, this is where my higher self wants to make a contribution. Oh, this is where my higher self is ready to be a part of this message or speak up in this way or create this moment in time where an impact can be felt in a new way with a particular topic that's important to you. If everyone was listening to where their innocence was guiding them to create a heavenly reality, all the different light workers that are working together as one collective here on earth, we would be building that heavenly reality both individually and collectively simultaneously. And what happens is when a lot of light workers step into their divine purpose and leadership and to create their individual heavenly solutions for our earthly problems. What's interesting is through the law of attraction, those light workers, those leaders, those people fulfilling their divine purpose start to intersect with others. Great thinkers start to connect with other great thinkers because the resonance of innocence is magnetizing those who are choosing to embody their creative genius, their innocence as well. So what we discover is that creativity is constantly asking us to expand into the co-creation of creativity, the co-service, the co-leadership. That brings greater play and joy and community into that service. And your innocence is the part of you that knows this better than any other virtue. Your innocence is the one that is guiding you in how to heal those wounds that would keep you separated from being in the presence of other powerful people that want to enjoy creativity and divinity pouring through you as they're enjoying their own experience of divinity pouring through them. The next paragraph states that your human awareness does not need to have all of the answers and understand everything to be perfect. Well, that's good news because there's no such thing as perfect with being human. It goes on to say, Green Tire goes on to say, your innocence is your perfection. So this divine attribute is the perfection and also your perfect guide to all divine solutions. For it is your natural curiosity, appreciation, and wonder about the miracle of life that frees your awareness to download these divine solutions without effort. That's extraordinary. So we're just going to unpack that paragraph a little bit with Green Tara. So a lot of light workers tend to tense up and even head into controlling expressions of their very well-intentioned desires to serve because they think that they have to have all the answers and know everything and understand everything for their service to be meaningful. And it couldn't be further from the truth. It's the imperfection of our human journey. It is our wounds that are become our greatest medicine. It is the not knowing and the willingness to listen to the divinity within us that does know, that makes us palatable and relatable to others. And ultimately, that's the goal of service. It's not about who's the most of anything. It's about the communion of everyone. And your innocence, Green Tara is sharing, is the perfection that we're all hoping for. It's like your innocence knows how to receive divine guidance, including creative solutions, clear communication that opens new doors of opportunity for yourself and others. Your innocence has a way of engaging you with life that goes so far beyond what your human ego structure will usually allow. And in this last sentence of this paragraph, Green Tara shares qualities of what your innocence feels like, so that when you're asking your higher self to guide you into a greater expression of your pure innocence, this is how you're going to recognize the feelings of your natural of your perfect innocence, guiding your human awareness to move as one with life, move as one with divine guidance. And these attributes are natural curiosity, appreciation, and wonder, like this beautiful wonder about the miracle of life. So what does natural curiosity, appreciation, and wonder about the miracle of life do for you? How are these divine virtues serving you first? Green Tara goes on to share, your innocence is freeing your awareness to download creative divine solutions without effort. What does that mean without effort? Does that mean you don't have to show up and go through any physical motions of a co-creative act? No, what it's saying is, for example, I had a prayer to make this video for you so that we could explore Green Tara's teachings. It's extremely vulnerable for me because I haven't had a lot of time to prepare at all for this video, but my innocence knows beyond my human understanding the words I need to say, what is being called forward to share. My innocence is in communion with Green Tara, and to the best of my human ability today, in the middle of my workday, that communion with Green Tara is going to guide the words that I'm offering you. And if I choose to focus on the perfection of my innocence, sharing what that part of me wants to share, and I loosen my own grip of suffering, my own attachments to perfection, and allow my human awareness to soften into how my higher self wants to speak through me, the chances are good whatever you need to receive from this transmission is landing in a way that's unique for you. And that's the conversation of, the innocence within me connecting with the innocence within you. And I love that creativity is a consciousness that, of course, we can become masterful at a specific skill set when we show up and practice every day. But what any master in any field will tell you is that there comes a time where you've practiced something so much that the training wheels come off and there's a natural flow that you can step into. Is it always perfect? No, but there is a flow that you're stepping into that you can trust because you've been in communion with a certain subject matter or interest or passion long enough, that there's a creative flow pouring that can pour through you to articulate, express, and share with others about that topic. Now, when we're talking about innocence, what we're speaking about is this divine attribute within you that actually can do that with any subject matter. That's a big statement. But for example, when you're leading, when you're offering, creating sacred space for others, you actually don't have any idea what's going to happen next. There's honestly a million quantum possibilities that can happen with a room full of people. And yet, when you are choosing to reach into your innocence and to rely on your higher self to guide the dialogue, to guide the facilitated space, which is what we train our Sophia Circle leaders in how to do when they run Sophia Circle journeys, what happens is this higher consciousness becomes one with the divine consciousness within everyone and everything in your reality. And you start to realize that the less you try to control and the more you surrender into that divinity of your higher self, that innocence, that creative spirit, that curiosity, that appreciation, that's the consciousness that invites and invokes everyone to rise up with you. That's the consciousness that creates the sacred space in any situation for you to be that one person in the room that's like, hey, we don't have to get hard. We don't have to get mean. We don't have to get weird about anything. We can keep our eyes and ears open to, 100 quantum solutions that exist right here, right now, because if the problem exists, the solution exists. So becoming a downloader of creative solutions really requires embodying this divine virtue of your higher self, and to practice and allow yourself the space to be in that vulnerable, exploratory space within you where you get to know this part of your consciousness that probably knows a whole lot more than your human awareness does. This higher power of your higher self is a creative power, and it's ready to reveal to your consciousness today how to be a miracle maker, without forcing anything or having to have all the answers or control an outcome. Now, the showing up part, when you are showing up to an action, a divinely guided action that you've received by tuning into this innocence of your higher self and maybe receiving a directive for what you can create or communicate next, it's going to feel like there's less effort involved because the action is being guided by the divine guidance first. It's when we try to put the action in front of the divine guidance that actions feel heavy, obtuse, insurmountable, and resistant and strange, weird. Things can go sideways, but when we tune into, oh, how would my innocence, how would the curiosity and appreciation and wonder that my higher self feels for being a co-creative participant in this life, how would it feel to allow that consciousness to then also not just reveal a creative solution to me, but then guide me in how to take that action? You're going to be filled with that Holy Spirit creative energy of your higher self. So this is what Green Tara is assuring us of, that our creativity and communication with one another is an opportunity, as always, to feel the divine communion between you and your source and you and your higher self, and all of the beautiful divine virtues that exist within you already. I hope you enjoyed today's reading from Green Tara. Please feel free to please feel free to leave your comments and reflections and feedback about this topic in the comment field. Please like this video and subscribe to my channel if you are receiving the daily support that you need from these KR daily transmissions. I love you all so much, and I'll see you all tomorrow. Namaste.